All right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. Like my personal cell phone is on 3 pages of schedulefly.com on the public facing site. And I put that there for a reason because we want our customer service to be legendary. And that's the kind of stuff you got to do when you say that. So if you call me or text me, you will get me on my flip phone. And just like Schedulefly, it does one thing really, really, really well, and it's durable and it works all the time. So call me, text me. I'd be happy to talk to you about our company. And then, simple software, legendary service, and a low price point. We have never took venture capital or private equity money when money was free for like a decade there. We certainly could have, but we didn't, which means that we only have ourselves to answer to, which means we've kept our prices low and we've never raised our prices in 18 years of being in business. So uh, we have a 30-day free trial. If you are on pencil and paper or Excel, you will make your life easier. You will make life easier for everybody in your restaurant, including your teammates who these days don't want to look at an Excel spreadsheet as an attachment in an email to find out when they're working. If you're on another scheduling software, it might be a bolt onto something, or it might be something that you're paying a whole lot more money for than you need to. Just call me. My number's right there on the website. Check it out. Give me a call. Maybe we're a good fit. Maybe we're not. We'll probably have a fun conversation either way. Schedulefly.com. Okay, so that's Schedulefly. And now this is Restaurant Owners Uncorked. We are now 15 years into doing this podcast. We've done over 600 episodes and always enjoy doing these. I was supposed to be doing this one in person today, which is a lot of fun, but I got some weird, funky, dizzy, vertigo stuff going on. So Jeff is joining me via Zoom, sort of last minute. But Jeff, thank you, and just take a second and introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And I can absolutely attest to Schedule Fly, the legendary, I'm sorry, Schedule Fly. You're going to have to edit that one.
No, that's fine. It happens all the time.
I
If you, I know, I
did it the
know.
first time I talked to you. I know Schedule Fly.
Yes.
I know it because I spent so much time with it. Such a fantastic tool. And the way that you talk about it being a simple product, that's really what it is. And as a simple human, it works really well for me. And I remember working with organizations that started on pencil and paper or on Excel sheets that are large companies now, and they've gone through the channels, and some of them have worked with Schedulefly, and it's by far been my personal favorite. I've worked with a lot, but so I'm grateful to be here and excited to be attached to it. And you've interviewed so many amazing people that I really respect and really love in the industry. So just to be in the same ecosystem is incredible and humbling to me. So I appreciate it. But yeah, my name is Jeff Boland. I have been in the restaurant industry in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the surrounding Carolina area for about 20 years now. And everything in my life is from restaurants. My wife, I met her working in a restaurant, and my first child was born while I was working at that same restaurant. And I've come up through the hospitality industry kind of by accident, but it has completely changed and shaped my life and is outside of my family the biggest part of my life to date. So currently I operate as the director of operations for Max Hospitality Group in Charlotte, and we have 9 barbecue restaurants called Max Speed Shop, and we have an additional concept called South 48. It houses a couple of different concepts. There's a Southbound, which is a really cool Caribbean Mexican fusion restaurant. Has an amazing Jamaican chef. Chef Garcia is doing an incredible job there. We also have a speakeasy and then some event space and a music venue as well. So I work with Max. I also do a lot of coaching and public speaking. My history coming up through the restaurant industry and battling drug addiction and alcoholism, and how that has shaped my life and turned me into the leader that I am. And I take those tools and use those to try to help future leaders to know how to approach each individual on their team and meet them where they are and get the most out of them, because I was really lucky and had a lot of great people who did that for me. And rather than kick me out, they met me exactly where I was when I was younger. And thank God they did, or I probably wouldn't be here today.
Man, the best industry in the world for helping people through that. There is no other industry like the restaurant industry with helping people through substance abuse, mental health issues, you name it. It is the most supportive, caring industry anywhere. It's the best industry in the world to serve. Well, I want to dive into that. As you've listened probably to some of these episodes, the one thing I always ask is just where did your hospitality journey start? Where and when?
Yeah. So 2005, I was fired from my construction job. I'd started this construction job in high school through my girlfriend. Her mother worked for a company called Beezer Homes, which is no longer Beezer Homes. But if you're from North Carolina at all, you might know Beezer Homes history, and it's there's some issues there. But I was a major issue, so I was, popping oxycons like they were Tic Tacs and passing out in the construction trailer, and really just had zero control over my life. I was so delusional at that time that on my last day with the company, I was driving up to the office to get my keys to my company car and my territory, because I was going to become this full-fledged builder now. And I walk into the guy's office and he was like, "Are you joking me? Like, you're done. Like, you no longer work here." So I called my mother and said I was let go for downsizing reasons or something like that. And she said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I have no clue. What do I do?" She told me that her friend's brother was opening a Chili's down the street from us, and I should run down there and apply. And so they were doing applications at the Fairfield Inn because the restaurant was not done being built. And I got hired on there, and really just by accident got involved with the restaurant industry. And I learned very quickly that the restaurant industry is the ultimate team sport. And I was always a very competitive athlete as a young kid. So I always tell people all the time now, I've lost every bit of talent I ever had. So I'm not bragging by any means, but I was very talented as a young kid in basketball. That was kind of my thing. And so in playing ball, I learned a lot about being a part of a team and everyone doing their job, having somebody who's guiding and directing that group and giving you feedback, learning how to navigate through those challenging times. That was all really helpful in this transition, because in the restaurant, everyone has to do their job and only their job at a high level for us to have a perfect shift. We can have a good day, but to really have a perfect day, everyone just has to do their job at the highest level. So as a host, all you need to do is greet everyone with a big smile and big personality and thank them and welcome them in and get them seated. And in some places, maybe get the tables cleaned and flipped and tell them bye as they leave. Like, it's real, just do that. And so I learned that just being a part of that team would allow me to be successful, but it also felt very comfortable. And due to some of the decisions that I made, it became far more challenging than it needed to be. But I really started to fall in love with the industry, and that exact thing that drove me to drugs and alcohol is the same thing that really kept me involved in the restaurant industry. And that was a sense of belonging, being able to feel like you're a part of something. And for the longest time, I just didn't feel right. But the first time I used, this is in my book, I'm in the middle of writing, but in the very beginning of the book, it describes my first experience smoking weed out of a Coke can. And the feeling I felt right away, and the feeling of belonging and understanding that I did not feel previously. Well, the restaurant industry provided me a lot of the same thing. And in many ways, like, it was the industry that kind of sped up my addiction, but it also saved me. Like I said, the very first person that I met in orientation ended up being my wife years later. And I don't think that was by coincidence. I don't think that was an accident. So my ride was crazy to start, but since then it's gone from being something like that to being a true, like, passion and something I really care about. And it provides me the best opportunity to do what I need to do to stay sober, which is help other people. That's the only way I'm going to keep it, is if I continuously try to help people, and this job allows me to do that every single day. And that's not something that I get everywhere. And so it's been a tremendous change for me. And like I said, it saved my life.
Man. So um, what a, huh. I just think I love this industry so much because the, it's the industry that will support anybody
Mm.
who's willing to show up, do their job, be a good teammate, take care of guests, no matter your background. I mean,
And
you're,
my biggest issue with that, because you're 100% right, but my biggest frustration is that the hospitality industry is seen by so many as this overwhelmingly toxic environment, because you do have this access to cash on a nightly basis. You have a lot of people that like to party, or people think they're taken advantage of, or they're not treated well. I think there's just as large, if not larger, a group of people that really do care about
mm,
culture and growth and individuals, as there are these people who say it's toxic. They're just a lot louder. And we have to start being more open about the fact that, no, there are a lot of great places with people that care. And through my experience over the years, and then especially getting connected with people across the country and North America on LinkedIn, and you got people like Billy Schaefer and Jim Taylor, Kimberly Fleer, Kristen Martin. These people, Simon Zatirka, these people are truly trying to change the culture of restaurants. First focus is on, like, mental health and the whole individual, not just about making the restaurant great, but about taking care of the people as individuals. And the reason that people don't think that happens is because it's not what you're used to in employment situations. You're not used to people caring about you as an individual prior to your results or performance. And there's a large faction of restaurants that operate that way. They're just not as loud. So I'm with you 100%. And I want more people to understand that, for sure.
well, yeah, I mean, this conversation is because of people like yourself and a lot of the folks you just mentioned and plenty of others is a lot more prominent in this industry now, and it makes the industry better as a whole. I mean, the industry for a
Mm,
long time was very much a work hard, play hard environment, and not that that doesn't still happen, but there is just a lot more conversation around mental health and overall well-being because it's not sustainable. I mean, that type of life is not sustainable, and it leads to lots of negative outcome for individuals and for businesses. But the restaurant industry to me is just this wonderful place where what I love about it is people from all walks of life can be very successful. You didn't go to college, cool, no problem. You've been in jail,
mm,
okay. You were, you know, strung out on drugs on the streets of Atlanta, with nowhere to turn. Cool. Steve Palmer now owns Indigo Road Restaurant Group, right? Like,
mhm.
and it's an industry that, can be a lifeline to a lot of people, but also has, rightfully high expectations. And um, I think that, um, I think your story is, dude, it's fascinating, man. I mean, I want to talk more about your journey from, I mean, you're telling me you were working construction jobs, popping Oxycontin. Uh, and now for some amount of time, you've been clean and sober from all substance. How tell me about that journey and
Yeah.
like what was the rock bottom or the low point where you said,
Mm.
got to change?
I gotta say, yeah, I'll definitely get into that. I love the fact that you're leaning into this part of the conversation. I've been on a few interviews over the years, and the natural instinct is to move away from that and specifically focus on the professional. And the reason I love it so much is because it's how I'm attempting to teach at this point.
Yeah.
So in the book that I'm writing, I'm taking my experience of recovery and then each section of that there's a leadership lesson in there, and that's just it's taken me time to learn those things, but they are very, very important. So this one comes up really early as how to identify someone who's struggling and how to go about supporting them the right way. But what happened was, I'd gone off to college briefly. I couldn't afford to go back. I wasn't a good student anyway, and so I had to take some time away. And I was working in construction, and then, like I said, I went off to work in restaurants. But I also mentioned that I loved sports, and by this time, I learned that I was a much better coach than I ever was a player. So I started coaching teams. And what happened there was I started getting the opportunity to travel to coach. And in doing so, I started coaching my brother's traveling AAU basketball team. So imagine this, 22-year-old kid who is a complete and utter mess, just an addict who hasn't gone a day in 4 years with a sober breath. And I'm responsible for a bunch of 16 and 17-year-old kids.
Mm.
And before we left town, I stole my sister's Adderall, and I had some painkillers with me, but I knew if I was taking painkillers the whole time, I wouldn't be a great coach. So I needed to get up as well. So we played a tournament in Raleigh, and then we did not fare very well. And because they had a terrible coach, they were great kids. They just didn't have a coach that was, dialed in the way they were. And we drove home, and I think about all this now. Like, I drove another child home and my brother, and I'm up for 3 or 4 days. And I have 3 children myself. So today it's like, if someone had done that with my kids,
Yeah.
it makes me kind of sick to my stomach. But those are the things that you have to work through in recovery to really show yourself some type of love as well, and take ownership for those things. But we got home from the tournament, and I could tell as soon as I walked in the door that I was in trouble. And I was 22 years old. I'm technically an adult, but I still was very much like a child, because you hear this all the time in recovery. You start using at 11 years old. Like, when you're done using, you're still 11, 12 years old. You're mentally, you're not as developed, and because you've never dealt with your emotions before. So I get
Mm.
home, and my sister and my mother tell me that they know that I took this medicine, and I said no, I didn't. My sister stood up, took 3 steps, and in one movement punched me in the face, bent down, and grabbed her purse to show me that the pill bottle was gone. I've never been hit that hard in my
Wow.
life. She did a number. And so I was kicked out of the home at that point. So I go upstairs to start packing up my stuff, and I call a therapist of some kind that my mom had hooked me up with before, kind of battling through this through middle school and high school. Like, it was very challenging for them to see me go through this. So I call this therapist. They don't answer the phone, but I leave a message. And I'm packing my room up, and my mom calls me downstairs and says that the therapist called her back and she's on the phone. So they gave us instructions to come see her and then go to see this other doctor. And we leave to go see the doctor. My father, who passed a couple of years ago, my dad uh, truly loved me unconditionally. Like I could do no wrong even when I was wrong. So he always had my back. So my dad's taking me to go to this doctor who says that he can't see me until next week. And my dad just says, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to lose my son. So he drives me and we sit in the lobby of that doctor's office until everyone's gone. And he just says, I'm not leaving without you seeing my son. And just seeing my dad like that, and recalling that just meant the world. But it really encapsulates how he approached me as his son. So this doctor wrote me two prescriptions. He wrote me one prescription to calm my nerves, and he wrote me a prescription to go to 14 meetings in 7 days and come back and see him again. So I started going to AA meetings in Charlotte, and my life immediately and continuously got better. And I started learning more about, how to experience my emotions and how to forgive and how to deal with resentment and how to reflect. And that really set me on a path that obviously changed my life. It hasn't been perfect. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way as well. But without that initial start, I would not be where I am today. I don't know that I would be alive today. And so, I owe a lot of my life to, my parents and those two doctors for sure.
When was this?
So I was 22 years old. So 17 years ago, April. So what's crazy, I love this because I just made this connection when I was writing the book. The day that I came home from the tournament was March 30th. I technically picked up a white chip April 1st. My oldest daughter was born March 30th of the following year. So I was 1 year sober
Wow.
on the day she was born. And I made that connection while I was writing this book that I want to publish. So there are no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. But you don't always see it when it happens. But and that's true, professionally too. I didn't think this is where I would be in my career. I've had a number of jobs that I thought would be where I stayed for a long time, but the only thing I've learned is that I don't know a thing, and it's not really up to me. So I'm just here for the journey and loving the process of it at this point and enjoying where I'm at right now. And that took a long time. And I think that makes me a better leader as well, is just being happy with where I am right now.
Well, you seem very much at peace, man. That comes across. And I know that there was a lot of your life that you weren't. I'm sorry that you lost your dad. What a great man and what
Yeah,
uh, a great father to be unrelenting. And sometimes we need people that will get our backs through anything and stand tall
yeah,
for us and stand strong for us when we need them. And he did that. Um,
100%.
so so you're working on a book.
Yes. So I had been playing with the idea for quite some time, and I couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to present this. So I've figured that out, and so far it's part autobiography and part leadership development book. So I've got this system that I use on a personal level with developing people and working in restaurants, and then working with other groups as well, and a leadership development system that focuses on meeting leaders where they are and guiding them through to the next step. Use a three-part audit system to navigate through your operations, and then a culture development plan as well. So I wanted to find a way to present these things, but those are kind of void of feeling. Those are kind of void of substance. Like those are just anybody can do those things. Those aren't anything proprietary or special. And it's just having the tools and systems to be able to execute it. But what got me to those things is what I've gone through and what I've experienced. So I've taken so far, I'm only 2 chapters in at this point, but I'm taking from the start of my recovery experience and a little bit of the addiction story and tying each of those chapters of my life to leadership lessons along the way. And so I wanted to create something that wasn't just like another everybody, like you're on LinkedIn a lot too. It's everyone is doing the same things and it's because it works. Like I get it. People are pointing out the tactical things to do, but everyone has those opinions. I wanted to make my story feel more authentic to me because I don't have everything figured out. I'm a mess. Like I thought about calling the book an addict's guide to restaurants just
Huh.
because like it's not like I'm this expert. I'm telling you my experience and I'm telling you like how I felt and how I made other people feel and what I've done to try to rectify mistakes in my life and how I've learned from them. And so I'm excited to keep doing it. But the reason that I really enjoy doing it again is because I fell in love with the process. There's a lot of services out there today that you could have a 30-minute conversation with somebody over the phone, and they'll use AI to take all of that mess and turn it into a message, publish it for you, and get it, to a bestseller on the Amazon list. And it's only going to cost you the low, low price of $12,995. And I've talked to a lot of these groups, but what I decided to do was, why don't I write the book first? Why don't I just actually write and then go from there? Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't need to happen tomorrow, and there's probably something I'm going to learn from going through this process anyway. So slow down and just love the process of writing the book and see what it does for me. And so that's kind of where I got to over the last couple of months, and it's been a lot of fun. I feel like I keep adding more stuff into the first couple of chapters, but I think that I know that there's someone out there working in a restaurant right now or getting ready to walk into a restaurant right now who's feeling the same way I felt, and this book is going to help. So that's the goal.
How many chapters do you already have that mapped out?
So right now there's a list of 14 chapters,
Okay.
but I've barely dug into all of them. And so right now, like I said, I'm just on the second chapter, and I did a intro as well. So I guess there's like 2.5 chapters done, I guess, getting technical. But yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it up. But again, it's also important that I prioritize my time effectively. And so like I said, I'm running 9 restaurants right now. And I've got a guy that I work with. His name's Charles Long. He'd be a great guest on your show as well. He's a fantastic speaker. He's the only uh, Emmy awarded chef I've ever met in my life. He won an Emmy for the TV show Homeland. He was the chef on the show.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's pretty
Okay.
amazing. He gets really annoyed when I bring that up to people because he never brings it up. So I like to lead with it personally.
So
But
he's
he's
the
the
chef on the show, but he was a character in the show, but he's a real chef.
he provided the food to the set.
He was the chef for the gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And so he's the director of operations culinary with Max, and I'm the director of operations hospitality. So we work as a team. So the point of that was to say that I have to meet certain expectations there too. Like Max is my full-time job. Max is where my commitment is. And so as much as I want to spend a whole ton of time on writing the book or doing the public speaking, I have a commitment to them as well. And I'm not going to let Charles down. So learning to prioritize my time while I have all these goals has been a big challenge for me. And I'm sure, like, as you've been doing this for 15 years, doing the podcast and doing everything else that you're doing, being a business owner, I'm sure you've experienced a lot of the same struggle with how to prioritize your time.
Mm.
And I think that that's a hard lesson to learn, and I'm definitely still going through it. So if you've got any advice for me, definitely, I'm all ears.
Wow. Yes. Think about this all the time. Um, because I do believe in addition by subtraction. I think
Mm,
it's good to oftentimes to focus on taking away versus adding. I mean, that's true with our software. It's true in almost any domain in life.
mm,
But I mean, there's times when I've been like, well, should I even continue doing this podcast? But, for me, um, I mean, we sort of built our business on the same foundation that a restaurant would build its business on, which is the product. You want to execute on the product every day. Typically, a great restaurant's going to have a really intentional and pretty simple menu that they execute on every day, and that's our product. And
mm,
then you have your service, the hospitality you provide, the way you make people feel when they interact with your business. And that's
mm,
all restaurants are great at that. And then you have like this third piece, which is all restaurants, great restaurants. Part of why they're great is that they give so much to their community. I'm sure y'all do tons of it at Max. Time, food, money. I always say restaurant people are almost like first responders. Anytime there's a tragedy,
mm.
like flock to the scene and figure out how to help, and they're donating food and they're cooking for people. And
Yeah.
so our our give back, that giving piece is this, right? It's content that educates and inspires and helps other people. So we do
Mm,
view it as a foundation of what we do. Having said that, it balancing that. Yeah, it's a you never, you kind of iterate all the time, right? There's no right answer. But I mean, I love the fact that I mean, you got a lot on your plate, bro. You're running 9 restaurants. You got 3 kids. They can't be that old I mean, so what, teenagers-ish, right?
16, 11, and 5.
Yeah. I mean, you got your hands full and then you're writing a book too. So it's good to, well, let me
Yeah.
ask you this. Okay. So in the past, perhaps the way you would have coped with all the pressure and stress that come with that would have been through a
Mm,
pill or alcohol or weed or something. What do you do now?
mm. Yeah. Well, I have had to learn a ton of different skills over the years. And to tell you the truth, there's 2 things that I do that really stand out. One is I started exercising a lot just a couple of years ago. So I from 11 years old until 27, I smoked cigarettes. And so as soon as I quit smoking, that's when I started working out.
Yeah.
So,
11?
where 11,
11,
11, a pack
27.
of Newport Kings out of a vending machine at the back of a Myrtle Beach pier bar when they were still selling them out of vending machines.
That was your
So,
first. Gotcha.
yeah, it makes me feel very old. So yeah, 11 years old. Again, all these people that I was around, these other kids they all seemed like older than me or more experienced than me, and I was very uncomfortable, and I just wanted to fit in from the beginning. That's all I really cared about. I was, almost 6 feet tall by the time I was 12 years old. I had bright red hair. I got glasses and braces the same week. So I was just this goofy looking kid who was, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet with both my pockets full. So it was uncomfortable to be me. And so doing stuff like that, made me feel more comfortable. But that was how I would deal with stress for the longest time in restaurants. Like I had this step by step process where, I think most people that smoke in the industry know most of your restaurants say they're non-smoking facilities, but they're definitely not. Just go out back by the dumpster and you'll see all the cigarette butts if you haven't cleaned. And I would right after I would do lineup in the morning, I'd go outside and smoke, come back in, and then before and after lunch, and then after lineup at dinner. Like there were these set times, and it would try to keep me even throughout the day. But that stopped working. I was working with a restaurant group in Charlotte called Juniper Grill. They're based out of Pittsburgh, and they have one restaurant in Charlotte, and some of the most beautiful people. And I loved working with Juniper Grill. It was just a season in my life, but beautiful, beautiful people, excellent culture with that company. But I was running that restaurant, and all of a sudden I started having these like panic attacks during the day. And I felt a lot of overwhelming pressure. New restaurant, we wanted sales to be further along, or we get sales aligned, and then we want to open new locations, but then those locations fall through. And so I'm feeling a lot of pressure, and I've never experienced that before. Like I'm having to go outside and call my wife and have her calm me down. And so I made a change and started going to therapy. And I think that this is a really important lesson for a lot of people who struggle with addiction of any kind, because AA got me sober 100%. There's no doubt that going to AA got me sober. But to get whole, to become complete, I had to go beyond that and start doing therapy, because AA taught me how to take ownership of things. AA taught me how to be accountable to myself and to others. But the kind of the basic premise of AA is that you develop this relationship with a higher power. So if it's good, it's God. If it's bad, it's me.
Mm.
And that's what I needed at that time. But over time, that starts to become a part of my being and start changing my self-worth. So now I'm way more patient and calm and understanding and empathetic with everyone that I work with than with myself. And I was becoming so critical of me that I would get kind of frozen. So I had to start going to therapy and learning some new skills to help me kind of navigate through life in a different way. And so between those two things, consistently working out, which I've dropped the ball on over the last 2 weeks, and I can feel it already. Like you got to stay. It's okay to take breaks, but stay as consistent as possible. I definitely have learned that. And then going to therapy. I think the next big thing for me will probably be dietary changes. I think that'll probably be the next step I take when I'm ready to. I got a mean sweet tooth, man, and so I'm gonna have to make some changes there. But over time, I find myself giving up these vices, and it's happening on the right timeline for me, and that's okay. So if you're sitting there and you're struggling with a drink in your hand right now, like listening to the podcast, like, and you want to give it up, but you're struggling, like that's okay. It's going to happen in the time that it's supposed to, but you do have to take some kind of action. So anything that requires me to take action has made a big impact on how I stay level and navigate through things, like you were saying.
Talk about being critical of yourself, empathetic to others, critical of yourself, and how you've learned through therapy to navigate that. That's a
Mm,
personal question I'm asking because I
yeah,
can relate to that quite a
yeah,
bit.
for sure, for sure. You know, there's a couple of things that I've learned that really stand out to me. And I was watching a video and heard one statement that really got me, and it had me kind of going down this rabbit hole to learn more. But the lady basically said, like, you're not bad at remembering names. You just keep saying, every time you meet somebody, you say, "Hey, my name's Jeff. I'm terrible with names, but what's your name?" So I've
Labeling.
already framed myself to not know the name. And that's one of the things that I do. I always tell people, "Oh, I'm terrible with names." Well, that's not true, because when I was opening Juniper Grill, I did well over 1,000 interviews. I hired people months in advance. And the first day everyone walked in the door, I was able to shake everyone's hand and knew their name because I put some effort into it. And I made a commitment to it. I knew that to keep people engaged with a restaurant that hadn't opened yet for months, I was going to have to build a relationship. So I committed to it. So that was a big part of it. But me being critical of myself is it's shown up in a lot of ways. So imposter syndrome is something that I hear a lot from my therapist, my wife, people in my life. And I know that what I do know is most people have it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people. That's not the idea that some of us are struggling with this. No, a majority of people struggle with this idea that eventually I'm gonna get caught. I'm gonna get found out that I'm not really him, that I'm not who you think I am.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with that a lot. I'm not as great at this job. I've worked with some people that really built me up, and I've worked with some people who didn't, who brought me down. And we're not going to be giving any light to any of the people that brought me down. But when I started with Juniper Grill, there was a gentleman named David Cudnick, who was the president of the company at that time. Me and David had to share an office while the restaurant was being built, because I started, 6 months before the restaurant got open. And me and David would sit at the end of our day, and we'd have awesome, very intelligent, theoretical conversations about restaurants and how we operate. But over time, I opened up about the fact that I had lost all of my confidence at my previous job. And David Cudnick was the person who built me back up. And by the time we opened that restaurant, not only was I ready, but I was great. I was great. And that I was great not just because of me. There were a lot of things that I did to get there, but David had a huge part in that because he believed in me. He would not allow me to sit in that. He wouldn't allow me to belittle myself. And he had enough confidence for the both of us. So he was able to siphon some off for me as well. So I think that's one part. It's like you need somebody like that. So I want to be that person for someone else. I've got plenty of managers on my team that lack confidence or that feel like they're not ready to do things. I want to be the one you can siphon off of. So I need to be ready. So if I really want to help people, I have to help myself first. So therapy. There's a couple of tools that I learned in therapy that have been excellent for me. And the first one is putting your thoughts on trial. So my guy that I see here in Charlotte is awesome. He taught me to put my thoughts on trial. So this is a technique for dealing with anxiety, because your anxiety is really just your mind, like, kind of playing tricks on you or making you think the worst. So I would literally have to stop. And so I am the lawyer for the defense against my thoughts. And so I have to show why my thoughts are erroneous, why they're crazy, why they're incorrect. And so I'd have to sit there and, like, literally think, like, if I'm a lawyer putting these thoughts on trial, what would I be saying? So if it's something like, I'm going to lose this job because they're going to realize that I'm not the right guy. And they're going to realize that I've just fooled them all. It can literally be as simple as, they're not that dumb and you're not that smart, dude. Like, what makes you think that this whole group of people is so dumb that they're all tricked by something you did? Or you have plenty of evidence of people that really love and care about you and love working with you. Like, you've built a reputation as someone who can build a culture. So what evidence do you actually have that you're a fake? Because you don't have any. So that was huge for me. And then I even went as far, I had a different therapist for a while, and she was newer and she was into different types of therapy. And it was really cool. Like, I was into it. So we did like guided meditations, we did all sorts of cool stuff. So this one that she had me do was crazy uncomfortable, but it clicked. So we were talking about like how to, she calls it the inner critic. That's what she calls it. That imposter syndrome, that's my inner critic. So I had to sit in one chair facing another empty chair. And I'm sitting in the chair as me, and I'm explaining why this is a problem. But then when I get in the other chair, I am my inner critic responding. And it was so uncomfortable doing this live in front of another human being, going back and forth in these chairs. And she would even say, like, get up when you're ready. You don't have to switch chairs right away. But going through that process, what I was able to identify is that inner critic is actually coming from a very loving place. It's just misguided. That inner critic wants to protect me from pain, wants to protect me from mistakes I've made previously, uh, realizes that I've made a lot of errors in my life and wants to prevent me from doing that. So it really does care about me as a person. It's just misguided. So I had to tell it, it's okay. Like, I got this. You can back off. I got this under control. And those little things, like, you may have to do them every so often, but man, like, just showing yourself, even just the act of showing yourself that much attention, like truly, like not your physical appearance, but like who you are, showing that much attention is, I think, something that a lot of men really struggle with. But I think it's something that can be game changing for how you attack the day. Because, like I said, if I really, really want to be there for other people and help others, like I've got to take care of me. And some of these things allow me to do that. And so it's been huge. Like, one of the things I'm most proud of,
Mm.
I feel like I ramble a lot, but
Nah,
one of
dude, this is gold.
the
This is gold, truly.
one of the things I'm most proud of, there's two things, and you hit on one earlier, talking about the giving of your time and like helping others. And I do want to mention that in a sec. But one of the things I'm most proud of is, in going to this therapist office, I learned that interns are educated students who are in the final year of their education, but they part of that is to practice therapy live with a teacher
Okay.
being able to guide them. That's free. Interns are free.
Okay.
So we set up the opportunity for everyone in our organization to be able to call this particular therapist office and ask for an intern and provide free service, talk therapy service, to everyone on our team. Now, they can't tell me everything, but they have confirmed that a number of people have called and gotten set up from within our organization. So simply because I went through it and asked some questions and then went and saw interns myself and saw how effective they were, the person that did the inner critic, that was an intern. One of the biggest tools that changed my life came from an intern. So I set up this opportunity for our people to be able to go to those same interns.
This is all of your staff there?
Yes, yes. Everyone on our staff has the opportunity to call and get on the list. Now, there's only so many hours, right? We've got 550 employees. There's only so many hours, but it's a start. And then we'll be able to connect with more therapist offices. And even further, what they did confirm with me was that we do have a number of people that have called, and you have you have someone in your organization who their challenges were a little more detailed than we would give to an intern. So we took them on pro bono with a licensed therapist. So just
Wow.
asking and just getting building connections with people can create these resources out of thin air. And to know that I had a hand in that just means a lot to me, for sure.
Dude, that's phenomenal. That's absolutely incredible. You know, man, I just got chills thinking about that, bro. How are you able to convince your staff, your team members of the value of that? And I ask that question
Mm,
because, particularly with dudes, therapy
mm,
is still a little, can be. I don't, maybe not for the, hopefully not for the younger generation. I don't think so. More so for guys like us, maybe.
mm,
So incredibly helpful. But there's people that think I don't need therapy, I don't want therapy, or I'm good, I don't need, like, talk about how you're able to sort of foster participation in that.
mm. I think it's really important to point out that of all industries, the restaurant industry has the highest rate of drug and alcohol abuse of any industry in the country.
Yeah.
Over 60% of chefs state that they've experienced extreme mental health issues during their tenure as chefs. 37% of fine dining servers have experienced high levels of anxiety and depression. So there's so much research on what's happening inside our organizations and how people are hurting. And then you look at, I mean, you don't have to look too far. You can look to just a few months back at Ann Burrell and see that the people that are feeding us are dying. And there is such a crisis around mental health as in the entire country. But within our industry, like I said, there are a lot of people who are trying to do some great things. I recommend everyone look up a lady named Kimberly Fleer on LinkedIn.
Wait, Kimberly,
And Kimberly Fleer, Flear.
Flear. Okay.
She's got a very similar story to mine and is incredibly outspoken about the need for more mental health resources in the hospitality industry. She is a great friend. We're going to do a master class, like a free master class online soon. We'll do like a small donation to be involved, and that donation will go to Chow, which is, again, a hospitality resource for people who are struggling with mental health challenges. Chow is a great organization. And she speaks a lot about these challenges as well. So once I learned all the data around it and realized, number one, that I wasn't unique, I wasn't alone, but two, statistically, there is at least in each of my buildings, there would be at least three people struggling with severe mental illness challenges, anxiety, depression, drug addiction, alcoholism. And I realized that I needed to be more of a part of it. And like, look, I get that dudes struggle with it, but like, I'm 6'2", 300 pound beard. Like, I'm a dude, right? Like, if I can do this and be open and vulnerable, like everybody can. Like, that's the point here.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be tough. Like, I would argue that you'd be way tougher if you were vulnerable. So but I think that even saying that kind of narrative is what pushes people away from it, because I think that's a little combative. And so where I like to talk about is everyone in my organization knows my story. I openly and aggressively and unapologetically talk about my history with addiction, the mistakes I've made in my relationships with my family, with my employer, and I talk about going to therapy. and I talk about what it does for me. And because if from your seat you can see me in my role as successful or happy or at peace, like you said, and I did these things, it makes those things seem more achievable or more realistic. So I think it's a matter of just being really open about it and approaching leadership differently. Um, you have to build relationships with people before they really care. You know, um, with Juniper Grill, they used to say, uh, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. He
Hmm.
kind of added that about them to the end of that well-known phrase. And so I call it building equity. I look at each relationship as like a bank account, right? So if I was to walk up to somebody on day one and say, your uniform looks like shit, go get it fixed, I've overdrawn that bank account, right? Because I pulled out from the relationship and it went negative. It's very hard to get that positive again. The compounding interest of starting a relationship like that is incredibly impactful and hard to overcome. But if I start off by building equity, developing a relationship, meaning I'm building it in two ways. Sweat equity, you're seeing me work my ass off for you, like I'm helping bust your tables and get you refills and sweep the floor, and I'm helping you during the shift when I have time. And that's sweat equity. Or personal equity, I'm spending time with you one on one, learning about you as an individual and what your needs are without regard to what the restaurant's needs are. I know that 90% of my staff does not want to work in restaurants for their entire life. But what I can do is ensure that you get everything you possibly can out of the restaurant experience so that you're prepared for that next thing. And by showing that level of intention with them, it builds a relationship where now they trust me. And through that trust, I can open up about my personal experience, and that will and has led people to seeking help in some way. And it just makes our industry stronger. Um, when people take care of themselves, we just become better.
I would think that it most likely increases the likelihood that some of those staff that don't think they want to work in restaurants long term change their mind. Because, we've talked almost an hour now about substance abuse and mental health and therapy but what I'm gleaning from all this, Jeff, is that what we've really talked about is leadership, right? So
Mm-hmm.
leadership by example, knowing that if you do lead people, they will follow you, um, and leading in the right way and building a community within your organization that's full of trust and teamwork, which the lesson I would get from this, if I'm another restaurant owner sitting here listening, is like so much of the success of any restaurant or group of restaurants is comes from not from the food has to be right, all everything, there's all these pieces that have to work, but all those things are going to get right if the leadership is there and the culture is there and the buy-in is there from the team members that what they're doing matters and why it matters and that the people they're working for care. I think about, do you know the folks in Greenville, South Carolina at Table 301?
Yeah.
I think about Carl Sobocinski down there and like the longevity of careers that people that work for that dude have because of his leadership and how much he cares about them.
Oh
People
man.
people work for him for decades that could, have been approached and could have gone on many, many times to other places. But that's like, that's what real leadership is, knowing that I don't care. I don't want to work for anybody else. This person
Mm.
genuinely care. And that's the exact same message I'm getting from you, man. And that matters. So I'm just going to assume that Max has a lot of people there that are probably there longer than they thought they would be, in large part because of the way y'all lead them.
Mm. Yeah,
That's
and Table 301, they have some of the most amazing like personnel policies I've ever seen.
oh,
Something like uh, after like your fifth year, I believe it's like something like a 3 month hiatus or something like that, or
you
I
get
can't
a
remember what it is.
every 5 years, if you're a manager on up, every 5 years you're required to take a 1 month paid sabbatical. You're
That's
not
it.
allowed to go into the restaurants. You're not allowed to email the restaurants or the employees. You're not allowed to text. You have to separate yourself and go do something that you want to do paid on their dime. And I mean, imagine what, and I've talked to people there that have now, done their second one and, they've been doing it for 7 or 8 years now or whatever. Uh, boy, I mean, on paper, you're like, how could you afford? Man, the return on that is like,
That's what I'm saying.
oh,
Ah, there's so many like I if I could just change the entire mindset of the whole industry, like where you think you're putting the cart before the horse, you're doing the exact opposite.
you're doing the opposite.
You're doing the exact opposite, and like just by that one differentiating factor, he will be the employer of choice in Greenville. Period. And
Oh,
we have a restaurant right down the street from them,
yeah.
and they will be the employer of choice. We've continued to try to create an environment where people can maximize their financial opportunity as well as balance their time. So we've been working towards some new changes and really trying to navigate how we do this. Like, how do we make an unlimited PTO process that actually works, that people actually take the time they need and the restaurants are taken care of? Because a lot of industries go to unlimited PTO and it actually has the reverse impact where people take less time off because it creates this negative culture around time off. We don't want to do that. We want to do it correctly, but how do we do that? And one of the things that I've been looking at and learning through my story and taking the time to navigate through these things is I feel that a lot of the things that create the stress that leads to the increase in substance abuse or mental health challenge are the things that are not effectively trained in the restaurant environment. I was never taught how to write someone up. I was never taught how to fire someone. I was never taught how to hold people accountable or how to deal with a guest that needed to be removed from the building or what to do if I come in and the floor is flooded or the hoods don't work. We weren't trained on those things. So let's do that. And the biggest one to me is communication. I actually posted about this on LinkedIn yesterday. There's a guy named Vin Zhang who is a amazing public speaker, and he's like a communication coach. A lot of people see their voice as a tool. What is a hammer used for? What hammer's in the nail? What is a screw used for? You use a tool. Your voice is an instrument. What do you do with a piano? You don't use it, you play it.
Hmm.
What do you do with the guitar? You play it. Teaching people how to use their voice and their presence to lead people and effectively impact conversations is a skill that no one gets taught. So everyone thinks that I can't hold people accountable because I'm too nice, or I can't fire somebody because I don't want to be a dick. You don't have to be a dick to do those things. But we don't teach people how to do it effectively. So that's one of the biggest things that we teach at Max now is effective communication, and we teach it in a couple of ways. So we have a quarterly meeting every quarter with our GMs and KMs to go over. Part of it is going over financials and helping everyone understand. And what I love about that is they're all getting advice from each other. Hey, try this, try this. I did this and it didn't work. Don't do that. I love that. But the other part of it is we need to focus on some kind of skill that they can master that will add to their overall performance and well-being in their job. So by being able to teach people how to have difficult conversations and how to have the most effective one-on-ones, those are the two things we talked about. And we gave a good outline, but before you even get to that, how do you use your voice as the instrument that it is and make it effective? And there's a tons of things like that we just don't teach people or teach managers when they're being trained. So like, what do you do if one of your team members is obviously dealing with drug addiction? Who's been taught? Nobody. So why don't we provide? Most people think that they can't say, I think you're using drugs, because they think the company's going to get sued or something. That's inaccurate. For everyone listening, by all means, you have all the right in the world to go to somebody and say, I'm concerned for your well-being. But we look at work person versus human being as two different people. If you can't take the whole person into account, then how are you really helping?
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the things that we have to change inside the industry just to ensure that people are getting everything they need out of us. Because if they don't, they're going to try to find it somewhere else. And that's not always going to be the best thing for them.
How, man, you have, I could talk to you all freaking day, dude. I want to respond. So
I love
many.
it.
Well, I think that I just hope a lot of people listen to this episode. You have a lot to say and a lot of really important things to convey. So you got your book that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
When and where do you do public speaking, Jeff?
So I've done a couple of events. I'll do them for organizations. They can reach me at Jeffrey at bolandhs.com, or they can follow me on LinkedIn, Jeffrey Boland Sr., and they can connect with me there. I do a lot of speaking for organizations in the hospitality, healthcare, and education areas. And then working, like going into colleges and talking with students. That's one of the things I love most, is going out, and I want to have an impact on the future leaders of the restaurant business so that we're set up for success in the future. I think there's a lot of great things to pull from history in restaurants, and there's a lot of things that we should just leave behind and do differently. And so I want to be able to provide the future with those tools and understanding the difference. So those are the big things. Sometimes I'll do some conferences. Like I've done some negotiations for some leadership conferences coming up in town over the next couple of months. Some of those work out. Sometimes they don't. Like I said, I'm here for the process. I'm here for the journey. It's all good. And I will be going to Butler High School at the end of the month to talk with some high school kids. So I'm excited for that as well. Getting to work with them and help them out. So,
Um, you ever go to any colleges and universities to talk to their School of Hospitality Management?
yeah, so I that's what I would love to do and get into more of. I have kind of just started this process of connecting with some of the teachers or advisors at like Culinary Institute, UNC Charlotte. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do that. Big goal. My sister went to Clemson and went to their PRTM. So being able to go and talk with them would be pretty cool as well. So yeah, definitely would love to do that. I've spent some time at CPCC talking with students there as well, more so on the recovery side. But yeah, being able to tie it to hospitality is the personal goal for me. Being a public speaker and sharing my story and being able to connect with people like this is just how I would, if I could spend 100% of my time like
Yeah.
this, it would be fantastic, you know?
Well, I asked that because my middle child, my son, is at East Carolina, and they've got a
ECU, yeah.
school of hospitality management. I was just thinking, like, I've talked to their entrepreneur program about coming and helping, speaking, whatever. Um, Might be a good idea to get you plugged in over there. I understand they've got a really good school of hospitality management, but this is the kind of stuff that's
Yeah,
so important, probably not, addressed in the classroom.
yeah,
Often, I would guess. Um, what if we, what if we had a session that we invited all of our Schedule Fly customers to that you led, like a webinar or something like that, leadership and coaching, or I don't know. Like,
yeah,
you want to do something like that?
absolutely. I'd be honored to do something like that.
Okay. I think you and I should talk more about that. I'd like to figure out how to accomplish that sometime in the next 6 months or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that sounds great. I appreciate
um, well, before we wrap, is there anything we missed? Is there anything else you'd want to say?
that. You know what? I'm going to do one selfish plug. You mentioned earlier, I mentioned this, and I was going to bring it up. And you said that you were talking about how you allocate your time, resources, helping other people, almost like charitable, from a charitable sense. I am also on the board of directors for the Isabella Santos Foundation. The Isabella
Yeah.
Santos Foundation is something that I'm incredibly proud to be a part of, that I just want to plug here. The Isabella Santos Foundation is a pediatric cancer and rare tumor foundation that was started here in Charlotte. Aaron Santos' daughter Isabella passed away from a rare form of cancer, and she started this organization with her daughter's oncologist, and it has grown to raise millions and millions and millions of dollars that have gone to Levine Children's Hospital. We just took a tour of the outpatient center that they've just built that is just incredible. And Levine has become the premier place to treat pediatric cancer in the country. And it's up there with like Atlanta and Houston and St. Jude's. And so they're doing tremendous work, and they've expanded out into other markets. So they're not just in Charlotte anymore. And we are actively working to raise money and so that this goes towards research and the eradication of cancer for young children and their families. I've had the opportunity to try to give some fun to some of these families over the years and have them out to my restaurants, and they just do incredible work. And they have an event coming up called Carolina Charm, and it is going to be the biggest, most incredible charity event that you would never guess was a charity event. This is going to be more like a high end, just incredible experience. So if you go on their website or research the Isabella Santos Foundation, you'll be able to see the link for Carolina Charm. Check it out and see if they still have any tickets available, because it's going to be pretty incredible. You're going to see some celebrities from some TV shows like Southern Charm there. So please take a look and do what you can to support ISF. They're just beautiful people, and they deserve all the help in the world.
I would echo that. Being from Charlotte, and I remember when that happened. My daughter was that age, Isabella's age.
Mm.
It's been amazing to see what y'all have done with that organization. Last thing, if you had a bunch of customers of Max Speed Shop watching right now, live, what would you say to them?
Thank you. The industry is always challenging, but more so now than ever before. And our people are some of the best. And so the fact that you come in and spend time with our people and help them provide for their families is why we do this. And being a part of the community is why we do this. And so we just truly appreciate the support for a company that's been in Charlotte for 20 years now. Is May 5th of 2005 when we opened. To still be able to be a part of this community and see how Charlotte has grown up around us is something that we're really grateful for, and we can't do that without you guys. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Beautiful. Love it. You nailed it, man. Fantastic. I started doing that recently. I like that.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love that.
Yeah, we've been kind of wrapping up with that one. So thank you all for listening, for watching. Um, Please do give us a rating. Jeff, give us a rating. Go to Apple Podcast or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you follow this. Give us a rating. That helps the algorithm put this in front of more people. We're a top five restaurant owner podcast. Top
Yeah.
five is great. We'd love to be four or three or two or one day,
Yeah.
uh, but thank you all for listening. What a great episode, Jeff, man, dude. Amazing. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I had a great time. I really appreciate it.
All right, y'all. That is a wrap. More episodes coming soon with Restaurant Owners Uncorked. We appreciate you. See ya.